here, where Fitzgerald leads us to a lavish frontier, a period where life was illuminated in a green and effulgent light, hopeful, extravagant, and fierce in its pursuit of happiness. Wealth was no longer bound by American aristocracy, but was attainable, desirable, and the epitome of pleasure for all who dared cross its path. Life was adorned in excessive materialism, with the outward appearance of a perfect golden storybook. But it is here, in Fitzgerald's remarkable telling of The Great Gatsby, that the real storybook of the 1920s is opened, and the hollow nothingness and utter hypocrisy of the time is revealed. Welcome to Say Journey 1's Crash Course video. Now, the story begins in Long Island, New York, where Fitzgerald immediately describes the stark contrast between the two districts of Long Island, East and West Egg. The East Egg is the home to the fashionable upper class, while the West Egg is the home to those with newly attained fortunes and social statuses. The narrator of the story, Nick Carraway, moves into a humble dwelling in the West Egg, right next door to a gawking mansion that is known for its extravagant weekend parties. Who would be the owner of this mansion? None other than the mysterious character of J. Gatsby, with whom Nick is fascinated about from the start. Although not much information is given about Gatsby, Nick explains that only Gatsby, the man who gave his name to this book, was exempt from his reaction. Gatsby, who represented everything for which he had an unaffected scorn. This quote exemplifies Nick's recognition of Gatsby's good qualities, though it's seemingly ironic because at this point, Nick hasn't even met him. The introductory scene takes place at Nick's cousin's Daisy's house, a beautifully furnished mansion located in the East Egg. Daisy, who is charming and beautiful but ostensibly superficial, while her husband Tom Buchanan is pretty much a racist bully. He thinks very highly of himself, but, obvious from his rumored affair, fails to hold himself to any moral standard. Nick also meets Jordan Baker, an attractive golfer who ends up being not all she's cracked up to be, as he learns she cheated in one of her golf tournaments. Nonetheless, it is through her that Nick is filled in on the details of Tom's secret lover, Myrtle, who apparently lives in the Valley of Ashes, which is an industrial dumping site right between West Egg and New York City. On a side note, it is also Jordan who Nick starts a relationship with, but that's pretty much inapplicable considering the relationship goes absolutely nowhere. Thanks for that, Fitzgerald. Soon after this evening dinner, Nick finds himself at a party in New York City with Tom, Myrtle, and some other of their relations. He is mortified by their rambunctious and profane behavior, especially when Myrtle bickers about his cousin Daisy. But never fear, the kind-hearted Tom just breaks her nose. However revolting, it is not long after that Nick attends yet another party upon accepting an invitation from J. Gatsby himself. It is at this party that despite the number of guests, he learns he was the only one to receive an invitation. Weird. The party is wild and extravagant and completely blows Nick's mind. Finally, the mysterious J. Gatsby claims the stage, a young gentleman with the odd habit of calling everyone old sport. Gatsby reveals to Nick through Jordan that Gatsby has always been in love with Daisy and that the purpose of his extreme parties was simply to impress her. Wait, pause. Gatsby loves Daisy? Turns out that long ago when Gatsby was a part of the military, Daisy and him were in love. However, because of their financial differences, Gatsby didn't marry her, but instead went abroad to try to make a fortune for himself with the intent on coming back and making her his own. But, as time would have it, during his absence, Daisy found a profound sense of security in the wealthy hands of Tom Buchanan and went ahead and married him instead. Brokenhearted, Gatsby returned and settled in a spot directly across the bay from Daisy, hoping, praying that one day he might be able to reestablish his dream. Every night he is reminded of his dream of Daisy as he watches the green light from her dock piercing through the darkness. Nick can't believe what he's hearing, but what's the point anyway? Oh, believe me, there's a point. Gatsby wants Nick to invite Daisy over for tea so that the two of them might finally reunite. Why through Nick? Well, Gatsby is also completely terrified that Daisy will refuse his love, so he can't have her knowing that he will be there. Piece of cake. The story progresses, Gatsby and Daisy become pretty pathetic at hiding their passion for one another. Tom is quick to catch on, and though he is just as guilty, is unable to contain his outrage. Before long, Nick, Gatsby, Jordan, Daisy, and Tom end up in a hotel in New York where Tom has the nerve to confront Gatsby. Two ferociously butt heads as Gatsby argues that Daisy has always loved him, while Tom counters with the fact that Gatsby is a lawless bootlegger. Unable to resolve their differences, it is Daisy they turn to for decisions. Dun dun dun! Daisy chooses Tom. Tom, smug as he is, sends Daisy and Tom home in the car together, brutally trying to prove that the fight had not hurt his pride in the least. As Tom, Nick, and Jordan return to East Egg in the other car, they find a bloody crisis on the road. Shocked and stricken with agony, Tom sees the shredded body of Myrtle. Just like Gatsby's dream of Daisy was corrupted by dishonesty, so is the American dream corrupted by a pleasure-driven hunger for money. After all, why chase after happiness and individualism when you can be wealthy? It's ironic and almost prophetic how Fitzgerald recognizes the fickleness of the 1920s and their impending downfall, considering downfall is exactly what happens in the coming Great Depression. Fitzgerald even includes geographical symbolisms to support his beliefs, as each setting in the novel highlights a different aspect of the era's culture. For example, East Egg is the aristocracy, or the generational wealth, while the West Egg is those with newly gained fortunes. The Valley of the Ashes, on the other hand, is the blatant moral decay of the time. The blatant moral decay is also indicated in the character of Myrtle. What do all these intentional literary traits reflect about Fitzgerald as a writer? Quite frankly, he was very observant, intellectual, and wasn't afraid to crack the egg and see the yolk. I mean the heart of the matter. Final matter that must be addressed is the chosen choice of a title, The Great Gatsby. Does Gatsby really deserve such an adjective? Yes, Gatsby messed up. Yes, he was a bootlegger who basically stole another man's wife. But maybe Fitzgerald was attributing greatness to the fierceness in which Gatsby chased his dream. He became rich and influential, but still Gatsby's eyes remained fixed on his prize, never straying from that green light, Daisy. That was Journey 1's Crash Course video. Thanks for watching.